All right, we're back again. My name is Alami Bashir, aka Mama Lami, and I am your transformational life coach. And it is an honor and a pleasure to come back today. I think pretty intently about what I'm going to talk about each week, and I came to a topic today that it's right at the forefront of, I think, so many of our experience right now. As I look at the world that we've inherited in 2020, there are so many things going on right now. Too many to name, but so many things that are causing stress and anxiety for people. The obvious is that we're living in the time of a pandemic. So COVID is at the forefront of everybody's awareness and experience, along with the issues and challenges with social injustices that we continue to see in our communities, the political climate that we're all trying to navigate, dealing with severe weather and climate change issues, and by and large, just life, regular everyday life stressors. They're still there, even in the midst of all of these other things that we concurrently are having to navigate. So needless to say, stress and anxiety are at an all-time high. I mean, people are maxed out. Even those of us who are ordinarily well-equipped are struggling in moments to just stay sane, to stay grounded, to stay self-assured, and to still continue to find hope and optimism in so many unknowns. And so that's what I'd like to talk about today, is that feeling of the unknown, that fear that many of us have right now of the unknown. So many of us are feeling so much uncertainty as it relates to, as I mentioned, numerous aspects of our lives, from our healthcare and our welfare to our relationships and our finances, other resources, our personal safety. So many aspects of our regular life is being compromised right now. And through it all, it's prompting many of us to ask the question of, what's next? What's next? I know it's not a question unfamiliar to me, and it may be something that you've said even audibly out loud. What next? Inherent in that question is this notion of, can I handle anything else? Am I equipped to handle anything else? Do I have the capacity to withstand anything else? Those thoughts brew fear. Uncertainty breeds fear. And I think there's three main reasons why, and I'll talk about them. Three main reasons why people fear the unknown. And they're all kind of like three sides to the same coin. And I'll explain what I mean. Many of us have a hard time looking toward the future with optimism because we are literally living in uncertain times, unfamiliar times. When things are unfamiliar, it immediately makes us feel insecure, right? Uncertainty brings with it an air of unfamiliarity. And with that comes this lack of predictability that we're so used to in our everyday lives. And without a sense of predictability, that fuels this sense of powerlessness. It's like, I don't know what to expect. So again, am I equipped to manage anything else? This idea of uncertainty, it really brings to light the presence of our egoic self. That part of us, that inner part of us that feels like it's in control. Uncertainty literally pulls the rug from underneath our ego. Our sense of self that we most identify with. That ego part of us literally drives and defines who we are in the world, how we show up in the world, how safe we feel in the world. Our egoic self is literally our internal locus of control. And so when we come up against uncertainty or unfamiliarity, it doesn't know what to do because it's, by definition, no longer in control. By definition, there's no predictability. There's no guaranteed equation that we can apply to the scenario to help it make sense and to help us feel like we still have the upper hand. So one of the main reasons, as I just mentioned, why people have such a fear of the unknown is because it's just unfamiliar. And with that comes a lack of predictability and a lack of powerlessness, a lack of power or sense of powerlessness. When the ego feels insecure, it's literally got two options. It can continue to fight against whatever is before it, or it can surrender. And the ego does not like to surrender. Again, the ego thrives on control. So here we are in situations and scenarios where we don't have control. And our egoic self is starting to feel the brunt of that. And it shows up as fear and anxiety and worry and stress. And maybe even some other things that are unique to your experience. But unfamiliarity is a key ingredient. Another key ingredient, or reason why we feel such fear of the unknown, is because not only is it unfamiliar, because it's unfamiliar, many of us feel unprepared. It's like, I don't know what to expect. And so how do I prepare for that? How do I set the stage for myself to be most successful under conditions I have no idea what they will be? And the egoic part of us doesn't like that because, again, our ego thrives on power, control, certainty, predictability, power. When we feel a lack of preparation, we immediately feel compromised. We feel a lack of trust in ourselves, in the situation. It feels unstable, unreliable. The ego is so insistent on its need to control that anything that it comes up against and which it does not feel in command of immediately becomes a threat. And so the third reason why people fear the unknown is because they make assumptions about things that have not occurred, and they're negative assumptions. I use the word threat. The assumption is that if it's unfamiliar and I don't feel prepared for it, it must be a threat. It must be something negative on the other side. Hence, fear of the unknown. The ego assumes everything is bad if it's not familiar, and these negative assumptions is what drives it to feel powerless, to feel like there's a lack of even hope and help. If I can't run it, if I can't control it, if I can't predict it, if I'm not in command of it, it has to be a threat. That's the assumption. So I want to talk about that. I want to shed light on this internal need that we have for control. And as I talk about the fear of the unknown, I want to talk about it in the context of that. How do we navigate this need for control in an experience where we have no control? How do we navigate that? So I want to talk about, in particular, 5 key coping strategies for navigating the egoic mind. 5 key coping strategies for navigating the egoic mind so that you can shy away from this fear of the unknown. Number 1 is, if you want to better understand the mind, you have to get inside your body. The interesting thing about us as humans is that our minds and our bodies are so very well connected. Many of us are aware of that. Some of us not so much. Some of us feel like we just feel things and there's no other reason why aside from, I don't know, that's just how I feel. So I challenge you as one strategy to cope with your fears of the unknown in this time of uncertainty is to really start to pay a close attention to how you feel in your body. Like, recognize your physical sensory cues that your body is giving you about what you're experiencing in terms of your fear. I mentioned, the worry and the anxiety and those things as being symptomatic of fear. But some of us, our fear shows up differently. Some of us experience symptoms of fear without even knowing that that's really what it is. When you have racing thoughts or your heart's beating fast for no reason, or you're sweating all of a sudden for no reason, or what seems to be no reason. Fear can often manifest itself as anger, mask itself as anger or aggression. When people feel threatened by the possibility of something, sometimes it comes out maladaptively and they lash out at other people. Or maybe just the opposite. Some people get afraid and then they withdraw. They retreat into themselves, into their own space. Sometimes fear shows up as avoidance, disconnecting, right? Sleeplessness, that's a common one. Insomniacs, so much going on in the mind and the heart and not able to really articulate it. Or maybe they are, but that's how it shows up for them. Another way is through preoccupation. just becoming fixated on certain things. It kind of goes along with this idea of avoidant behavior and distraction. So my point being that it's important to identify your feelings. What are you feeling inside your body? When you notice that you are afraid, how is it showing up and manifesting itself physically inside you? I know we're talking about the ego, and the ego is of the mind, but your body has a natural intelligence. Your body will always speak what your mind is experiencing. So if you're wanting to learn ways to better tame and navigate your anxious thoughts of your egoic mind, you have to pay more attention to your body. What are the symptoms you're experiencing? How is it showing up in your body? The ego lives in the mind. You can't go there to better understand it. You have to go inside your body to better understand what your thoughts are speaking. And everybody has different cues. So it's important that you start to identify yours. If you want to get on the front end of overcoming your fear of the unknown, you have to pay attention to what your body is experiencing first before you're going to understand what your mind is producing to generate that experience. So, number 2, again, as I'm going through 5 key coping skills or strategies to help you navigate your egoic mind away from your fear of the unknown. Number 2, so while I want you to really focus on what your body is experiencing, number 2 redirects your attention back to the mind, but not in the way in which we might ordinarily go there. When we think about our minds, that's just the thing. We think. We want to think about our minds. And that's kind of self-sabotaging in and of itself. We only have so much capacity to see ourselves inside ourselves, right? So for number 2, I want you to go to your mind, but I want you to become an observer. Not retreat to being the thinker of the thoughts, but retreat to being the observer of your thoughts. Become the watcher. And when you observe your thoughts, I want you to identify them and question them. So some of those questions might be, what am I giving my attention to? I feel this fear. What am I giving my attention to? What am I focused on? Am I future focused? Am I focused on things that are in the near to far off future? Am I focused on things that have not occurred? What am I focused on? They say when you experience anxiety, it's because you're focused on the future. And that's why mindfulness is so important. And for those of you who are not familiar with mindfulness, mindfulness is really about having and keeping your attention on the present moment, being mindful of the present moment. So when we talk about how do you get away from this egoic mind that focuses on fear of the unknown, how do we overcome fear of the unknown? You have to become the observer of your thoughts, because that fear is driven by what you're thinking. Your body is the physical expression of what you're thinking. Your fear is the expression of your thoughts that you are thinking. So looking at the quality of your thoughts and questioning them is important. Not just important, it's essential. You're not going to understand you until you understand what you're thinking and why. You won't understand your physical experience until you understand what you're thinking and why. Questioning, why am I afraid? Why do I have this fear? What am I afraid of specifically? Why do I feel ill-equipped to handle whatever my fear is telling me? What am I resisting? Why do I feel a need to control things that I can't control? Those are the things that you question as you identify your thoughts. The why, the what. And when you question your thoughts, observe them without judgment, without criticizing them, or negatively evaluating. Just notice what you're thinking. Just notice how they make you feel. Counteracting fear is not about, I'm going to turn the fear off. It's more about addressing the symptoms of the fear, addressing the racing mind, addressing the shallow breathing, the anxious thoughts, addressing the focus on future and things that have not yet occurred. Mindfulness helps. Mindfulness, just by definition, takes us out of the future and brings us back to the present, which, by the way, is our only locus of control. The only thing we control is right here and now. That's it. The past is gone. It's gone behind us. The future is yet to be told. The only thing we control is here and now. But the ego will have you believing otherwise. The ego will have you believing that you are in control of all things everywhere all the time. You're omnipotent. And I'll talk more about that in a second, but it's just so important to stay present. Practicing mindfulness to help you relieve the symptoms of your fear, the symptoms of your anxiety, hugely important. And redirecting your attention away from things that make you feel bad. I'm telling you, when you start to notice how you feel, and then notice what you're thinking at the time that you're feeling it, you gain a whole world of insight into how to feel better. Because the math becomes very simple. If you don't want to feel that way, don't think that thought. I know. I'm speaking about it like it's just like, ding. And literally it is just like, ding. In an instant, you gain new perspective. Now, it takes time to grow to that place because some of us are so connected to our thoughts. We only see ourselves as the thinker. And that's why I'm asking you to entertain yourself as the observer. And you remember, like when you were in school and you did a science project and you're asked to observe an experiment, you're not giving your opinion about it. You're just stating the facts of whatever is happening. You're wanting to be as unobtrusive as possible, just on the sidelines, just watching and noticing. And I'm asking you to do that with your thoughts. Just watch and notice. Don't judge them. Don't try to change them. Don't punish yourself or make yourself feel guilty or shamed for feeling however you feel. Just notice. And notice how those thoughts are making you feel. Number three, again, as I'm talking about ways to divert your mind away from fear of the unknown. It's important that we learn to stand face to face with our worst case scenarios. We have fear of certain things and certain outcomes because in our minds, we have already developed scenarios and situations, potential outcomes that don't feel good, that we don't want to think about, that we don't desire. We create scenarios and situations in our minds that we don't want. And then we grow to fear them or fear that. So I'm asking you to stand face to face with your worst case scenario and look at it. I'm asking you to stop fearing your fear, but to embrace it for just a second. And what's the worst case scenario? For most of us, the worst case scenario is some form of tragedy or death, right? For just one moment, play that out. Face your fear for just a moment. I'm not asking you to belabor it and welcome it in and start channeling that energy as your potential outcome. I'm asking you to stop running from it. Stop avoiding it. Stop hiding from it. And I'm asking you to entertain a possible rebound plan. Yeah, how do you rebound from death? How do you rebound from horrendous tragedy? People do it. People do it all the time because they have to. Most people aren't given the opportunity to play out a potential scenario before it occurs, particularly a tragic scenario, an unexpected scenario. We normally aren't given that kind of courtesy in life. But for the sake of really learning to face your fears and moving beyond that part of self that wants to just go hide underneath the covers and pretend like it doesn't exist, the best way to face your fears is to face them. So entertain your worst case scenario. What would be your next step? How would you cope? How would you support yourself? What would need to change in your life in order for you to still maintain your health and your sanity? Just think about it. For a moment, stop fearing your fear. Face it for a moment. As you play out all the potential unknowns, face it and play out the scenario to its entirety. But before you're done, make sure you create a scenario that restores your power. I'll say that again. When we think about facing the unknown, we make these assumptions of things being negative, things not working out in our favor. And so we do everything in our power to try to avoid, deflect, deny, and hide from the possibility of that experience. So I'm asking you to welcome that experience into your awareness for just a moment. And when you do, play out that scenario that's in your mind that you have control over. Play out that scenario in a way that restores your power. How could you successfully navigate the situation? How could you redeem yourself? How could you rebound? What could be your backup plan? Now, don't get me wrong. Again, I have to say, I'm not asking you to start to claim things that you don't want. I'm asking you to stop running from it as a possibility in your mind. I'm asking you to strategize even ahead of time. How would you support yourself through the ills and the horrors of whatever you've conceptualized to be a possibility of truth? How would you navigate it? How would you restore your power? Number 4. Again, top 5 ways or top 5 strategies, key strategies that you can use to redirect your egoic mind away from a fear of the unknown. Many of us, not all of us, But many of us who maintain these fears in our lives, this haunting or daunting sense of uncertainty, many of us have a belief in some kind of higher power. You can call it God, or source, or universe, spirit, whatever name you prefer. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's the purpose that it serves, or that it's intended to serve. So for number 4, the number 4 most important way to face your fear of the unknown is to reprioritize your faith system, whatever that means to you. I'm not telling you what to believe or who to believe it in, but if you believe in something greater than you, this is where you activate that engagement. This is where you demonstrate that faith system, where you activate and engage that faith system. As I said earlier, the ego thrives under the illusion that it is all powerful, that it is all knowing. And anyone that subscribes to most any faith system can see how that immediately undermines the faith system in and of itself. If I'm almighty, all powerful, I'm in control of all things, how can I subscribe to any belief or faith in something greater than me if I'm saying I'm the greatest? The two just can't coexist. As they say, faith and fear cannot coexist. They are literally the antithesis of each other. To have faith means that you believe in something that you can't see, something that is unknown. You believe in the unknown. And when you have a fear of the unknown, it immediately compromises any degree, and it undermines any degree of faith in that higher power that you could ever believe to be true. So it's important to reprioritize your faith system. Access your higher power for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. Pray, meditate. Do whatever it is that you do culturally that allows you to connect with that energy force. And above all, surrender. Surrender. The ego has to surrender to your faith system, if you have one. The ego has to surrender. When we're talking about the question of what's next, if you feel like you have to be in charge of resolving that, of being able to respond to the call of what's next, and to do it with sanity and security of your heart and mind, if you have to do it, I would dare to say that most of us, any of us without a faith system, would be feeling the weight of that, the burden of that, and quite honestly, the impossibility of that. I have this mantra that I recite even to myself as I trust my higher power. I say, God's got me, so I've got this. And I've got this because God's got me. That's my mantra. It literally is written on my mirror in my bathroom right now, so that I see it all the time to remind me that I don't have to have the answers. I don't have to have the solutions. I don't have to know the way. I just have to know the way is there. Yeah. But it requires me to surrender to my ego, to surrender it, not just in piece and parcel, but wholeheartedly, to give it up to what I perceive to be my God. So again, I mentioned, as I was asking you to question your thoughts so that you can understand why you feel what you feel. A key question to ask yourself is, why do I feel the need to control things I can't control? Is it for safety, protection, power, a sense of importance, ego? Is it for ego? Why you feel the need to control things you can't control? To nurture that ego? Well, I was told that ego, EGO, stands for edging God out. If I feel like I need to be all-knowing and all-powerful in all aspects of my life, there's no room for the higher power. I'm taking up the space. So when I want to welcome in another layer of force and energy to help support me when I run up against situations that feel unfamiliar, that I'm uncertain about, that I might feel ill prepared for, gotta usher in spirit. Not some of the time, but every time. I find it interesting that so many people that I know who say they have a faith system, they are the most vocal online and on social media platforms about, oh God, what next? I can't take no more. And, all of these kind of woe is me. And it's no judgment, no shade, because everybody's faith system and belief system is different. And we all experience it to varying degrees. But I always have to challenge that. How do you say you believe in this source of more power and of higher authority, and then you question it at the same time? How can you say you have faith in something and then speak things that reflect your lack of faith? And then want to get really hypersensitive when it's pointed out. So I challenge you, if that's something you can relate to, if that's an experience that you struggle with, and listen, I struggle with that from time to time too. I sit here on no throne of authority. I'm human too. And as I'm walking my walk and I notice that I'm doing certain things that are not in alignment with who I want to be and what I truly believe in, I check it. I check it immediately. And when I start feeling fear and angst, then I know I'm not where God is. I can't be. Because I can't have fear and faith at the same time. My faith is a level of trust. My fear is a level of distrust. They cannot coexist. So reprioritize your faith system. That might be a place where many of us need to start and stop, just right there. Regardless of anything else that I say or have said. Maybe that's it in all in a nutshell. Reprioritize your faith system. Surrender your ego. Trust in your higher power. Trust in your higher power. The number 5 most important, or let me stick with my same language. The number 5, what did I say? Key coping strategy. The number 5 key coping strategy for navigating your fear of the unknown. The number 5 coping strategy is this. Spirituality aside, we're humans. We have rational thought and able bodies, capable minds. Maximize your own power. Maximize your locus of control. Key coping skill, maximize your locus of control. You can't control what happens next, but we can control what happens right now. So staying present, focusing your efforts and energy on your experience in the right now is how you cope with or navigate the terrains of uncertainty or the unknown. Focus on what you're feeling and experiencing right now in this second, in this moment, in this present experience. That has to be your focal point, because that's where your power is. That's where our power is. And once you focus on that moment, use your power to then transmute that energy. So if you're having negative thoughts and feelings right now, and that's what's making you anxious and scared and afraid, transmute that energy. Do something with it. Transform it into a different form. Don't let it stay stagnant. If you have negative thoughts and feelings and they stay stagnant too long, you become depressed. Don't let it stay stagnant. You have to develop healthy coping skills. Coping skills is how we transmute the energy. So I alluded to practicing mindfulness. If you are stuck in a cycle of toxic thinking, mindfulness in that moment, noticing the thought, not judging the thought, taking some deep breaths, or making some conscious physical attempts to divert your attention elsewhere. That's the work. That's the work. That's the control you have. Mindfulness is a healthy coping strategy. Meditation, deep breathing, exercising. That's a strategy I use all the time. If I find myself feeling in a funky mood, I'm feeling highly anxious, I'm just worried about things for no reason, I use that energy and I go work out. I restore my body with that energy. I'll do some yoga. I'll do some kettlebell exercises. I'll go skating. I'll go walking. I'll just go, take a mindful moment and go stare at the clouds. But I do something with the energy. I might talk to a friend. I might listen to some music. I might just do some self-coaching, positive self-talk. But I don't just sit in the energy. I use my locus of control to transmute that energy into something else that's more valuable or more value added to me. Transmuting the energy also allows for release. So sometimes a good cry is in order, or a good scream. Sometimes I write or draw. Sometimes I sing and I dance or I worship. I do something to transform that energy into another entity that is value added, that feels better. That's what we're talking about, is feeling better. Clearly, we don't know what lies ahead. We could never know what lies ahead, not just because of COVID or social injustices or things that are going on actively in our society, in our culture right now, because we could never know what lies ahead. We've had a false sense of predictability that has been taken away from us because there's been so many unpredictable things to happen this year that it's now allowing us to draw our attention to, oh, we really don't know what's going to happen next. It's been that way all along. It's just our ego made us think and believe that we had more power and control over the situation than even we did before. So really nothing has changed. It's just the shadows hiding in the dark seem bigger now. We've been thrown so many unexpected monkey wrenches that it's like, what next? Many of us feel ill-prepared. Many of us lack the coping skills that we needed in our ordinary lives, much less in a time like this. But it is essential that we start to look at ourselves differently and to look at the role that our mind plays in our physical experience. We are literal manifestors. With our minds, we create worlds. Literally. And in the aspect of our mind that where we derive our sense of self, that place is powerful because it can have us really disillusioned to think that we really run stuff, and we don't. And that's the reality that people are having to face right now, is that I'm really not in control. And if I'm not in control, then what is? So it is important that we have key coping skills, and not just some, but many. It is essential that we are constantly in a state of developing coping skills, because what worked one day may not work or prove effective the next day. So we have to be more creative, and we have to be more intentional and more innovative within our own minds, hearts, and bodies. But above all, we have to learn to surrender our ego. We have to. If we want to learn how to navigate uncertain times, we have to be willing to say, I'm not in control, and I accept that. We have to be willing to say that I only control certain things, and that's what I'm going to focus on. I'm not going to focus on what I don't control. I'm going to focus on what I do. There's a prayer called the Serenity Prayer. Many of you may be familiar. It's, God, grant me the serenity to change the things that I can change, the courage to accept the things that I can't, and the wisdom and knowledge to know the difference between the two. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I can change, the courage to accept the things that I can't change, and the wisdom and knowledge to know the difference between the two. That's how you overcome fear. That's how you overcome uncertainty, unpredictability. That's how you answer the question of what next. That's how you empower yourself to be able to navigate the uncertainty of what's next. So I offer that to you. I encourage everybody on the planet to memorize it. If not now, one day soon. Because that, I'll speak for me, has been a saving grace on numerous occasions. Numerous occasions where I just feel I'm maxed out, I'm at my burden's wit's end, and, you know, as they say in pop culture right now, it's above me. It's above me. When I feel like it's above me, it's because it is. And that's when I know I have to surrender my ego. So if I can just recap, again, the top 5 coping strategies for navigating this fear of the unknown. Number 1, get out of your mind and into your body. Pay attention to how you feel. Pay attention to the intelligence of your body as it is speaking the truth of your mind. 2, become an observer of your own thoughts. Notice them, question them, examine them, explore them, but don't judge them. Don't guilt yourself or shame yourself. Just notice what you're thinking and notice how it's showing up in your body, in your physical experience. Practice mindfulness to alleviate anxious thoughts and redirect your attention to thoughts and feelings that feel better. The goal is to feel better. It's not to become a fortune teller or a future teller. Did I say that right? Fortune teller. That's not the goal. The goal is to feel better. So pay attention to your body. Pay attention to the quality of your thoughts. Number 3, play out your worst case scenario. Face your fear. You want to overcome fear, you have to face it. We can't run from it. You have to face it. And when you turn toward it to face it, empower yourself with strength as to how you could overcome that fear or how you could overcome that particular scenario that is god-awful and everything but what you would ever want to happen. Let's say it happened. Do you just fold? Do you just pack it all up and quit? Do you just wrap it up, I'm done? Or do you find ways to strengthen and empower yourself? Develop coping skills, create a backup plan, a rebound plan. Play out scenarios in which you become the victor. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm just telling you that's the work. You can't face fears by running from them. You have to stop and face it head on. So I encourage you to create scenarios and include a rebound plan for how you would navigate it. Number 4, again, reprioritize your faith system. If you're feeling stressed out, worried, and depressed, it's because you're all up in yourself, your egoic self. That's your egoic mind speaking again. It's, oh my God, I don't know how, I don't know, it's questioning, it's doubting, it's fear, it's hopelessness, it's helplessness, it's all of those things. But when you have faith, you have abundance. You have abundance. You have power that you don't even know you have. You just know you have it. Somebody's going to get lost on that one. A higher power that you know you have, but that you don't know that you have. Faith, not ego, not fear, not ego, no edging God out, no ego, faith. And it's a verb, it's an action, it's a demonstration. It's not lip service. It's an action that starts with you prioritizing it over yourself and your own abilities. It's above me now. Faith. And last but not least, again, in overcoming your fear of the unknown is to focus on what you can control. No, we don't know what tomorrow brings, or next week, or the next 5 minutes from now, for that matter. We have no idea. We could never know. We will never know. But I'm not focusing on that. That doesn't give me anything to hold on to. I'm focusing on my thoughts and my feelings, my experience right now. And if I feel anxious, nervous, and afraid right now, I know that I am future focused. I'm focused on something other than this moment right now. Because if I start to focus back on this moment right now and I'm feeling anxious and afraid, then right now my focus becomes feeling better. My job becomes feeling better. I always say my joy is my job. My joy is my job. And if I'm focused on how I feel right now, then the only thing I have space and capacity for is figuring out what tools, tips, and strategies I'm going to use right now to shift that energy. But it starts with me being present in the here and now. So practicing mindfulness, breathing. Breathing is our fastest connection to the moment of right now. Right now. Take some deep breaths. Learn some meditation strategies. Practice mindfulness. Pay attention to how you feel and notice what thoughts are generating it. That's it. That's all. So, I hope you found this helpful. I hope that you will do the work that I'm describing. The work of introspection and noticing yourself more from the inside out. Your thoughts, your feelings. Noticing your behaviors. Not judging, just noticing. Noticing the correlation between the two. Practicing your presence. Nurturing and developing your faith system. That's where it's at. All right, y'all. I appreciate you as always for tuning in, for listening on whichever platform you're using. If you are someone that really struggles in this area, I really welcome you to reach out to me. I offer 20-minute consultations for all of my new clients to get to know me, and so that I can get to know a little bit more about you and your experience and how I might be able to support you. Helping clients deal with anxiety, excessive worry, and overcoming fears. I do that every day, all day. And I love it because I love to see people turn the corner. I love to see people gain the new insight, the new skills, the new personalized strategies that they can rely on to support themselves when they get in those energies. I would love to support you too. Check the link in my bio for how to schedule that consultation and to learn more about me and my services at large. If this is content that you like, I welcome you to like, subscribe, share with a friend, and continue to support it. I love feedback, so I welcome you to follow me on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, any of the social media platforms. Reach out, say hello, and let's talk. Maybe I can support you. Or maybe I can teach you how to better support yourself. All right, y'all. Love you much. I appreciate you so much. I want you to have a great day. Be great every day, no matter what. Peace.